First fight in Kumite, and he broke the fucking world record. Yeah! Bloodsport coming up next.
For centuries, the Society of the Black Dragon has sanctioned an ancient rite of combat, known as the Kumite, open only to the world's most lethal warriors. It has never been won by a Westerner.
You are not Japanese. I can do it.
Now, for the first time, the true story of American super agent Frank Dux can be revealed. International martial arts sensation Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, the true story of the ultimate champion.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Couch Brotato Podcast. Lucas, what's happening, man?
Oh, not much. Russ, it's always a goddamn pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. A goddamn pleasure.
Goddamn.
The movie we're doing today is the movie that tied for our fan vote back in January with The Fugitive. And it was actually kind of a cool story. This movie's the genesis for what we do. Bloodsport is what we're doing today. Lucas, you want to give everybody a kind of the bullet points of our original Bloodsport episode?
So, man, I'm trying to think, like, we were trying to, I think it was like when we first went, when we weren't face-to-face anymore. I think that was the first episode we did when we weren't face-to-face. And when we were recording, the audio and video were off for each of us. Mm-hmm. Like, one of us was ahead of the other one. And, you know, we had a great time. It was a great episode, but then we figured out when we listened to the recording that it was way off.
And there was a brewery in town that used to deliver beer when everything was locked down, and they showed up at my house when we were doing the episode, and my dog barked for like 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, my dog Lemmy just kept barking off and on incessantly for 30 minutes, so that's also in there too. So
it was still a fun episode. I think we still did really good.
I think so too. That's the lost episode. I think I deleted that shortly after I listened to barking on my end for 30 minutes. Yeah. So, to give everybody a quick heads up on what this movie's about, Bloodsport is the story of an American soldier who leaves the army to fight in a secret tournament in Hong Kong. Sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that if there's really actually underground fight clubs like this, but there should be.
Oh, well, I created a special category about that later on we'll get into. It's a category specifically for this episode.
Sweet.
So we'll deep dive into that a little bit. Lucas, when's the first time you seen Bloodsport?
First time I saw Bloodsport was, I think I was at your house hanging out one day, and you asked me if I had ever seen it, and I said no, and I think we found it on YouTube.
No, I think we actually, it was on Netflix, and then we proceeded to watch Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that it was at your house. We were just hanging out one day, and you asked me if I had ever seen it.
Yeah, I think we just made a fun movie night out of it.
And what a fun movie this is.
Yeah. I remember this was kind of like a lot of the movies we've done. This was a staple of my house in the late 80s on HBO and Showtime. This movie was on all the time. I mean, it would be on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. You could also catch it at like 3 o'clock in the morning on like Tuesday. I mean,
so it's essentially like what Lord of the Rings is to TNT.
Well, yeah, like TNT. It used to be Shawshank, and I think the Lord of the Rings took over for that.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, Bloodsport's kind of like a cool era. Like this is the when Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Steven Seagal were starting to try to stake their claim in the action universe in movies. Yeah, like Stallone and Schwarzenegger were kind of like the kings of the hill. I think Seagal had Above the Law coming out around this time. And then, like, this is Van Damme's big he was in I think something called No Retreat, No Surrender the year before, but this is like his first starring role.
Okay.
So yeah, they were starting to kind of make some noise in Hollywood. Now, let me ask you this: are you a Van Damme guy or are you a Seagal guy?
To be honest with you, I haven't watched a whole lot of either one of their movies. I know that's horrible to say, but I really like Van Damme in this movie just because I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of. Give me some Steven Seagal movies that I would know.
Okay, Above the Law is his feature film debut.
Don't know if I've seen it.
Hard to Kill.
I think I've seen it.
Hard to Kill is where he's the cop who he is trying to investigate some officers on the take, and they kill his wife and his kid. They leave him in a coma, and then he wakes up several years later, and he looks like Jesus. And he tries to basically get revenge. Like, he tries to bust this senator and like these crooked cops.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I know I've seen him in a movie, but I just can't think of one.
You've seen Under Siege, right?
I think so.
Him on the battleship.
Dude, I've smoked so much weed I can't remember any fucking thing.
All right, well, I guess for me, I'll give the edge to Van Damme. Like, if you just give me Steven Seagal's first 4 movies, which were Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, where he's taking on Jamaican drug lords, and then Under
Excellent.
Siege. And Under Siege, I'll take those over Van Damme's first 4 movies. But Van Damme has Bloodsport. He has Hard Target, which is going to be a movie we're going to do sometime down the road. He's got Sudden Death, which he plays. It's basically terrorists have taken over the Igloo in Pittsburgh during the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about this.
Yeah, there's a point in the movie where the goaltender, he knocks out the goaltender and plays goalie for the Penguins during a period of the game. And he has Universal Soldier, Time Cop. I think Van Damme's got better. Seagal started off hotter, but I think Van Damme's kind of sustained himself longer. So I would probably give the edge to Van Damme.
Oh, and I was going to say, by the way, the whole coming in and being goalie thing would seem far-fetched if the Zamboni driver hadn't done that for Carolina, a year or two ago.
Yeah, I just read a story about that today. I seen where he was the emergency goaltender for the Carolina Hurricanes. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, imagine going out there and playing for your favorite team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Van Damme plays a security guard at the Igloo. And he tries to impress his kids, so he gets them tickets to a Stanley Cup game. I think it's Game 7. And, terrorists decide they're going to take over the Igloo because the vice president's there.
Huh. I mean, that just, as crazy as the world is today, nothing action movie even seems far-fetched anymore.
No, I mean, it's awesome. You should watch it sometime.
Until we tell you a little bit about Frank Dux, his life, that seems a little far-fetched.
Yeah, that's definitely coming up. So, are you a Van Damme guy? I'm taking your Van Damme guy because you've seen more of his stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if anything, do yourself a favor. At some point, watch Seagal's his first 4 movies. He kind of falls off a cliff after Under Siege, to me.
Okay, I'll check him out.
Yeah, because he starts his next movie after Under Siege is On Deadly Ground, and he decides he's going to direct it, and it's a fucking shit show.
Oh,
it's about oil spills in Alaska, and then he just he basically starts putting on all this weight, and all he does is break dudes' arms. That's it.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a depressing subject, really, just oil spills.
Yeah, but Steven Seagal cleans it all up, though.
Oh, well, of course he does. Does he use Dawn dish soap? Clean off all the little duckies?
And his fist.
Well, naturally.
Yeah, he doesn't like hit ducks that are like have oil all over them. Don't think that. I mean, he fights the people that dump the oil. He doesn't like hit geese or birds or anything like that. Although I'm sure that crossed his mind.
That might make, from the sound of it, it might make the movie a little better if he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe he'll do a sequel at some point where he just fights like all these oil stained animals in like the Alaska frontier.
And it'll be on Sci-Fi.
Oh yeah, it's like he fights Sharknado. That's the one I'm waiting for. Seagal versus Sharknado.
Oh man, Sci-Fi, make it happen. I know nobody from Sci-Fi listens to our shit.
No, they don't. Let's be real. No one from Sci-Fi Network has listened to this show.
Hey, you never know. We're in like 20 countries. Somebody might.
That's true, but I doubt anybody from Sci-Fi Network. But if you are listening, we are for sale.
We will hoe out for you.
Yeah, hoes for shows. All right, you ready to knock out some of these categories?
Yep. Let's do
All
it.
right. All right, well, first off, we'll give you the tail of the tape. This was released on February 28th, 1988. As we established already, Jean-Claude Van Damme is the star. Is it Van Damme or Van Damme? I've always called him Van Damme.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard it called Van Damme, but
I've heard some people
like something
call it
he would like.
Yeah. Well, for our show, he's Van Damme. Donald Gibb, Leah Ayres, Norman Burton, fucking Forrest Whitaker's in this.
Yeah, Dayquil and NyQuil at the same time.
You know, I was doing a little research before and Bolo Young is also in this too, who is the fucking man is Chong Li. But when I was doing a little research on this, like Forrest Whitaker was in the midst of he was just in all these prestigious movies. He was in Platoon. He had done a movie called Bird about this jazz singer named Charlie Parker, which I think he got nominated for an Oscar for. And he was in Good Morning Vietnam, and I think he was in a couple other movies. But then he was sandwiched Bloodsport in between all those.
Seems like a good play to me.
It's like Daniel Day-Lewis doing There Will Be Blood, Phantom Thread, and then in between those two, he does Fast and Furious 8. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you take what you get, I guess.
Yeah, he must have needed a pool.
New car.
Yeah. It was directed by Newt Arnold, who I read in the research was actually the assistant director on The Godfather Part 2.
Oh, wow.
This movie at the box office made $11.8 million on a $2.3 million budget. And its Rotten Tomatoes score is 40% from critics and 74% from audiences, which is kind of what I expect.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we're being honest, it's not a great movie, but it's a fun, cheesy action movie.
Yeah, it's a shitty film, but it's a fun movie. That's
right.
Realistically, that's if you're watching a movie about a underground fighting tournament, I'm not expecting Shawshank Redemption.
No, nor should you.
What was that noise in the background? Did you just pull out a fucking katana blade? I heard a shing.
Yeah, I'm preparing for battle.
Okay, cool. That's the award that was given to the winner of the Kumite. Was a sword.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
See, I didn't even know it, and I was, foreshadowing.
You may as well just come clean and tell everybody that you are the 1998 Kumite champion.
Yeah, sorry, guys, I failed to mention that. In 1998, I was 11 years old, and I won the Kumite. I defeated 78 other human beings.
Well, we'll get into that later. That's save it. This is some good stuff.
All right.
I'm going to skip the research corner at first because I kind of want to start knocking out some of these other categories. I'm going to start with best scene. Now, I've got quite a few nominees on here because essentially this whole movie is a fucking best scene. But I kind of broke them down into some the ones I like the best. You know the routine. If there's anything I'm missing, feel free to chime in.
You got it.
I picked the opening of the movie where it has the montage of the fighters, the ones you pretty much know are going to make it far in the tournament. You have Chong Li, like just kicking the shit out of those blocks of ice. You have the guy who jumps up in the tree and karate chops the shit out of the coconuts. You have the guy that wears like the loincloth who throws that big bag at those dudes. I think that guy's name is Pumala. There's the guy.
Name.
Yeah, I always called him. Who's the fighter in Street Fighter? The sumo wrestler. Isn't that E Honda?
Yeah, E Honda.
Yeah, that's what I always called him when I was a kid. Then there's like I don't know the fighter's name, but he's the guy they're fighting on that island. Like he's training, and then you see like Ray Jackson like just beating the shit out of a fucking like a heavy bag.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. There's the Frank Dux fucking 20-minute flashback sequence where he basically, him and his two friends break into Tanaka's house to steal his sword. And first thing is I can't figure out why he's got a New York Giants hat and a New York Giants football jersey on.
Well, what probably happened was there was probably a lady in Hollywood who was dressing the people for this movie, and she saw two things that said Giants, and was like, oh, yeah, let's go ahead and use those.
Well, the thing of it is, though, he's got the SF, the San Francisco Giants logo. It doesn't say anything on the hat about Giants at all. It just says SF, and it's a Giants football jersey.
Oh, well.
It doesn't even, like, I'm sure if my wife were listening to this, she'll tell me, like, that, the black and orange and then, like, the red, white, and blue doesn't fucking match.
Maybe that's all they had laying around.
It could have been. It's like, you know what, dude? We've got like $30 left. Just make something happen. What would you dress your kid in?
Somebody go to fucking Lids.
Yeah, that looks more like a Goodwill special. Because like the jersey, there's like it's 55 on the back, but then it has number 5 on the arms. So it's like the 5 fell off.
Maybe when he was breaking into the house, it got ripped off.
Yeah. And then, like, Tanaka's son's getting beat up at school, and then there's those kids that are egging the fight on. One of them is wearing a Bartles and James shirt, which was a wine cooler popular in the 80s. The kid's like 12. He's wearing a Bartles and James shirt.
At school, no less.
Yeah, then they have, like, that emotional sequence with Tanaka where he's getting choked up after his son dies, and then, you know, Frank getting his Kumite training. And there's that scene where he's basically got him tied up, like, on that tree, and he's stretching the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Right. I know he tore, like, both his groin muscles in that.
I don't think Jean-Claude Van Damme had groin muscles.
No, if you see him do the splits, there's no way. I also got the scene when they first get to the Kumite, and they ask to see Frank gives his invitation to those 3 guys, the committee, I guess, or the guys that work the door. I don't know what those dudes' roles are, but he has to prove his worth. So he basically does that move called the dim mock, where he hits the brick at the bottom, and the brick explodes.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's when we were introduced to Chong Li too. And then
he just kind of walks by and kind of is unimpressed.
Yeah, he says, "Very good, but brick not hit back." We'll save that for later. I've got that in one of the categories. Then I've got the Stan Bush Fight to Survive montage, where it's like the opening rounds of the fights.
Oh yeah, Russ, I gotta tell you, I let you down. I was supposed to learn the words to that so that I could just, sing a little bit of it.
Yeah, that was going to be the opening of the show. Was going to be Lucas singing "Fight to Survive" the whole thing, but it's too late now. Like we could get a studio.
I don't know. We could still do it.
I don't know though. We got to get a recording studio. We've got to get a backing band. I don't think we can pull that off by Friday.
Yeah, it's worth a shot anyway.
Next scene I have is Frank Dux versus Pumala. That's that scene where Pumala actually gives him a run for his money, and then like Frank ends up hitting him in the stomach. He makes that quick motion with his hand, kind of like with what he did with the dim mock, and then Pumala stumbles back, and he tries to go after him again, and then like basically Frank just punches the shit out of his dick. He just levels him right in the crotch.
You'll hit him right in the old speed bag.
Mm-hmm. Then I've got Chong Li versus Ray Jackson, which I don't understand why. I don't know how many rounds are in this tournament, but that seems like that should have been a semifinal matchup. But it seems like if you're fans of the NBA, the NCAA basketball tournament, that would be like Duke being a number 1, and then like Michigan State being like a number 4, but they should have been a 2.
Yeah.
And they end up meeting in like the Sweet 16. It's that kind of matchup. And I don't know why Ray hits him one time and thinks he killed him. Like he punches him, knocks him back. He's fucking dead. I killed him. It's like, come on, dude. Like,
because Ray's a bad motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one I got is the fight between Chong Li and Frank Dux.
Well, yeah. Well, there's one scene that I also think is worthy of being in the best scene, and that's when at the end, Ray is in the hospital, drinking a beer, and he's just fine because he's drinking a beer.
Oh yeah, that's you talking about like after Frank wins, and then like
like at the very end of the movie when you think Ray's dead, but he's actually fine because he's drinking beer.
Yeah, like that. Actually, I have that as an honorable mention. It's really weird, like this whole movie up to that point, like the acting in this, people have basically just said, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna do our thing. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, we're on a time crunch. But like that's actually a pretty well acted scene between Donald Gibb and Van Damme. Talking about the one where he goes, "I love you, my friend."
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how I think I would be if I got hit in the head, and he has that bandage around his head that that's how they stitched up like Civil War vets. Like if they if they took some damage and teed them.
Like, oh, by the way, Japan is a pretty well technically advanced country, even in the 80s.
Ray Jackson's head is hard as fuck, too, because, like, Chong Li stomps the shit out of his head, and he basically, a day later is drinking beers in the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that one as an honorable mention, because I think it's easily the best acted scene in that whole movie. So... But I didn't like it as much as the other ones. Like, it's not that scene that if I seen it on TV, I would stop and watch the rest of it.
Well, there would be like 2 minutes left. So.
That's a very good point. It's like, well, fuck, this movie's almost over now. I'm not going to sit and watch this.
Right.
But what would be your pick for the best scene of the movie?
Probably the Frank Dux Chun-Li fight.
Yeah, that one's good. The only nitpick I have with that one, Beef, is when Chong Li throws the salt in his face. Like, Frank acts like he's completely fucking blind. Like, he can't see anything. But, like...
Oh, dude, I laugh at that scene every single time where he's looking at his hands like, what are these?
It looks like he's in a completely different movie. It's like... It's almost like you're expecting, like, an Oscar picture where, like, a guy gets into a traffic accident and loses sight. And he doesn't understand why.
What am I doing here?
I know for me, I've mentioned this before in the Karate Kid episode that I am a fucking sucker for a montage sequence. And
that's a long montage.
I am going with the Stan Bush Fight to Survive, that opening montage of the fights where they have that Fight to Survive song. Like, that's going to be my pick. If I see it on TV, like, well, this isn't going anywhere for 30 minutes.
I got to be up in 3 hours, but fuck it.
Yeah, I got to be at work in 20 minutes. I'll be late.
By 2 hours watching this movie.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, sorry I'm late. I had to see Frank win the Kumite. Okay.
I needed to know if he was going to get that damn sword or not.
Right. Like, is he going to win the sword or is it going to be Chong Li? Now, I'm going to segue into the best quote, or as we've named it, the King Kong ain't got shit on me best quote of the movie, which is named after Denzel Washington's performance in Training Day.
By the way, kudos on the name of the category. I love it.
Yeah, I like it too. It flows. I still got to come up with one for best sequence though, or best scene. We'll figure it out. This movie's not really dialogue heavy, so this was kind of a tough one for me. But I have Chong Li saying near the beginning, he goes, "Very good, but brick don't hit back." Chong Li also saying to Frank, he goes, "You break my record. Now I break you, like I break your friend." Like I think it's in the semis after he fucking kills that guy.
Yeah.
This one's from Ray Jackson where he goes, "His first fight in Kumite, he breaks the fucking world record. Yeah."
I just love how he's just drunk the whole fucking movie.
He's like
cracks
fucking.
Me up.
He is sloshed like 3/4 of this movie. I also like Victor Lin, who I call the Kumite Jimmy Hart because he looks like he has that Jimmy Hart, the old wrestling manager, the Mouth of the South. He has that that Jimmy Hart mullet, and he always wears those like Puma jumpsuits. But when he gets introduced to Ray and Frank, he goes, "I'm Lin. You Jackson? You look like a Jackson. That must make you Frank Dux."
Oh, yeah.
And then Frank corrects him. He goes, "No, like put up your dukes, right?"
Right.
And then the last one I have is, I use this line a lot for like, it's kind of when somebody is like telling me to do something and I kind of acknowledge them in a very condescending way. But the old guy in the alley, when they're getting ready to go into the Kumite, the old guy goes, "Okay, USA." And then like he lets them in.
Oh, yeah.
So those are my nominees for best quote. Do you have anything?
When Ray says, "Time to separate the men from the boys," and that guy says, "Just be sure Chong Li doesn't separate your head from your body."
Oh, shit. I don't remember that one. When does he say that?
I think it's right before he goes in there and fights him.
Oh, really? That makes sense. Oh, yeah, when Jackson fucking kills him after he basically, like, grazes his cheek.
Yeah.
I'm going with the, as much as I use OK USA, I fucking love it when he just, like, when Ray just jumps up right after his first fight and just yells, "His first fight in Kumite, he breaks the fucking world record. Yeah!"
Yeah. Because he goes full in on that.
I think that's what I'm going to open the show with.
I like it. You should.
All right. Our next category is the "I Once Knew a Girl on Gordon Street," which is named after Charlton Heston's brief cameo in Wayne's World 2. And this is basically the best performance by, like, not one of the main leads, but not like somebody that's not in the movie that often. My picks are Helmer and Rollins. That's Forrest Whitaker and Norman Burton. Victor Lin and the bookie at the Kumite, the one just like taking the money, like the one that ends the reporter ends up like sneaking into the Kumite with.
Oh yeah,
that guy, because he ends up bribing one of the judges to let Frank be late.
Yeah.
Those are my contenders. I'm voting for Victor Lin. That's Kumite Jimmy Hart.
Yep, it's Victor. It's got to be Victor.
Oh, yeah. Simply, like, when I noticed it, it cracks me up when, like, they're walking from the hotel to the Kumite. It's one of those scenes where you could tell it's easily, like, it's a voiceover. Like, they had no microphone on him at all. But he's walking and mimicking with his hands.
Yeah. Man, you know what? If there's anybody listening to this and you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Victor from Bloodsport and then Google Jimmy Hart, and you will know exactly what we're talking about because he really looks just like him. Mm-hmm. It's hilarious.
Yeah, Kumite Jimmy Hart.
I wish they actually would have named him that. Like, that would have been his character name.
Oh, yeah, dude. Like, if they remake Bloodsport, that's what he's going to be. Just Kumite Jimmy Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we'll segue into the William Somerset Research Corner, which is aptly named after the library scene in 7. The fighter Hussein. I believe he is the guy. Yeah, he's the guy that Van Damme, like when Van Damme takes the coin out of his hand so he could take the reporter home with him. That guy actually got knocked out by Van Damme in their fight.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think his tooth goes flying out.
I didn't know that. But I do find it funny in that scene how, like, that lady is just okay with two guys, like, you know, having a battle for who's going to bang her that night.
Yeah, she's kind of getting into it there for a little bit, especially after Van Damme wins. She's like, okay. At first she seems to be repulsed, but then she's like kind of into it.
She's like, all right, who's trying to fight for this pussy right here?
Is that a deleted scene?
Yeah. They're like, well, we didn't necessarily want to put that in the movie. We wanted you to seem more like a lady, you know, not who's trying to slam this, who's trying to jackhammer this pussy tonight.
Jesus. Your dog seems to be like really enamored with this episode right now.
Either that or she really wants to watch it right now.
She could be. She could be pining for she just wants to see the Kumite.
She might fight in it next time.
Well, you know, if you find out it's real, let me know. I'd be in for that.
Will do.
Okay. The arcade game that Frank and Ray are playing is called Tyson Karate Do. Okay, cool.
Yeah, like I don't know what to say about that.
I just, you know, in case anybody's out there wondering like what that game is, that's what it's called.
Well, now I'm going to look for it.
Yeah, like this actually, there wasn't a whole lot of research. Like there wasn't really a lot to go off of, so that's why I created the special category we're going to get to in just a minute.
Okay.
The video game Mortal Kombat was greatly inspired by Bloodsport, and the character Johnny Cage is based off of Frank Dux.
Wow. You know, I didn't know that, but that totally makes fucking sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It really does. Like, from the aesthetic of the game, and then the way that Johnny Cage, like, even looks as the character, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I actually, after Mortal Kombat, I kind of thought that's who Johnny Cage was. Because at first, Johnny Cage was my dude, because, like, he looked cool with the sunglasses, and then I eventually just gravitated towards Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Well, as you should, because they're awesome characters.
They are. I was a fucking stupid kid.
Well, alrighty then.
Well, when it comes to Mortal Kombat, I was ill-informed. I had never played it until the console versions came out, and I thought, like, oh, cool, guys, sunglasses. I'm going to use him, and then.
Fun fact for you: that's the first game I ever owned on Super Nintendo.
Oh, was it? See, I roped my mom into buying it for me on the Sega Genesis because she didn't know how violent it was, and I pre-ordered it from one of the stores here, and you had to have a parent come and pay for it, and my mom didn't put two and two together on why she had to be in there to buy it for me, but I took it home, and then like I remember her coming in there when I ripped some dude's head off.
That's
and
awesome.
She's like, and the Sega Genesis version had blood. I don't think the Super Nintendo one did.
It didn't. It was dust, which was super fucking lame.
Yeah, Sega, we got blood. That's why the Sega Genesis will always be better than the Super Nintendo.
Only for that reason, I think. Also, this doesn't have anything to do with Bloodsport, but since we were talking about Mortal Kombat, that game is the reason that we have ratings on games now.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's when they, because that was the first, is it still MA? Or M?
M, yeah.
Okay.
I think it was MA back in the day for, like, mature audiences or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a while since I played video games.
That senator, whatever their name, was it Lieberman?
Yeah, it was Joe Lieberman.
Was really offended by it or something. Afraid that all the kids are going to become violent.
I think
I don't know.
he didn't appreciate that game because I guarantee you he took his grandson to an arcade and his grandson beat the shit out of him in that game.
Yep, that's probably what happened. I mean,
So you know what? Fuck this. They bring this out to the Sega. I'm just gonna cock block these dudes. Fuck them. The dim mock, the maneuver where Frank hits the brick and destroys any brick that they choose, is completely made up, not real.
Oh, all right.
And I thought it was. Like, it seems like something that would be like a martial arts maneuver. Like, at least I thought so, and I read it, I was like, really? That's made up? I thought for sure if anything is real in this movie, it's that. But
Well, I don't know anything about martial arts, so I just kind of believe that all the moves in it were real.
yeah. But, hey, you know what? 2020 has been a disappointment. 2021 hasn't been that awesome so far. So, yeah, let's just fucking ruin Bloodsport now.
Sorry, audience. We know you voted for this. We're ruining it for you.
Yeah. All right. Actually, I'm just going to end the episode now. I've read that and I'm sick to my stomach.
Let's just go to bed. Fuck it.
Fuck it. We're not even putting this out. No stuntmen were used in this movie,
Wow.
which I find to be fairly odd considering it cost $2.3 million and there's really no big stars in this.
Did it just cost that much to just go to Tokyo and film on location or something?
I'm almost wondering if some of that money just didn't end up in somebody's like producers just like cut themselves a check.
Well, you know Frank Dux, as crazy as he was, he fucking took a giant cut.
Oh, yeah. And now that you mentioned Frank Dux, that's going to take us to the special category we got in store for you guys today. I couldn't come up with
Did I just do a segue?
I think you did.
Holy shit.
I could come up with a really cool name for this, so I apologize. But I'm going to call this the best of Frank Dux Tall Tales.
Okay.
I was doing a little research on Frank Dux, and apparently a lot of the stories that he made up regarding the Kumite and his life are completely made up. I don't know if the Kumite is even real. I don't think it is. There's an LA Times article. I accidentally deleted the link last night, so I don't have a link. But if you just Google Frank Dux LA Times, there's a huge article about some of the shit he had embellished in regards to the making of this. But I've got a list of facts here I thought were kind of hilarious. Kind of let you know exactly who Frank Dux is. And have you seen what Frank Dux looks like?
I think I looked him up at one point, but I don't know off my head at the moment.
Well, you know how we briefly touched on Steven Seagal versus Van Damme?
Yeah.
Frank Dux looks like he would be like Van Damme, or not Van Damme, but like Steven Seagal's like kind of his loser brother. He like Steven Seagal is like a successful movie star. You know, he's a very
And then
famous.
you got Chet Seagal.
Yeah, it's like there's Steven Seagal, then there's like Sam Seagal, who's like a fucking like like a shift lead at the Olive Garden.
Oh.
Yeah, or he's like he runs the lumber department at Home Depot. Maybe has a coke problem.
Parents are super disappointed in him.
Thrice married. And has like 3 kids he hasn't seen in like 16 years.
But still claims that he's father of the year.
Oh yeah, like he shows up to one of their baseball games. He's like, you know what? I'm a fucking good dad.
And he's got a fucking beer and a beer koozie.
Yeah, that's Frank
Come on,
Dux.
son,
Everybody.
hit a home run.
But he managed to bullshit his way into having like a feature film made about him. So like, hey, you know what? Like I haven't been able to do that yet.
Yeah, I mean, you got to respect that, I guess.
So yeah, I'll give him his due. Well, first off, I didn't try to do the math, but at the end of Bloodsport, they have a list of like accomplishments Frank Dux had, and one of them I thought was kind of weird. So I looked it up, and it one of the the records he has is he had 56 knockouts in one Kumite tournament. Now, I had to look this up because there was no way I was doing the math. But in order for him to have 56 knockouts in one tournament, there would have to be over 72 quadrillion fighters participating in that Kumite. I don't even know if that's a real number. Is quadrillion a real number?
It was like, yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Like that's got to be more than the actual population of the Earth. So, in essence, in 1989, when I'd seen this movie for the first time, I would have been 10 years old. I would have had to have fought in the Kumite for him to get these knockouts.
Several million times over.
Yeah. My grandfather and my mom and my younger brother, who at the time this, I think, takes place, my brother would have been like 6 months old.
Well, he would have had to get his ass kicked too.
Yeah.
It's just the rules. It's the Frank Dux rules.
Yeah, like, hey, what happened to your brother's face? Oh, yeah, he when he was 6 months old, he got roundhouse kicked in the Kumite.
He put up a hell of a fight.
Yeah, he cried for like 5 minutes, though. He was offered $25,000 to murder Steven Seagal.
Oh, Jesus. So by who?
See, like, I tried to find that out, and I couldn't really find anything else about it. So I don't know if that is actually legitimate or not, but it was too hysterical not to include in this.
Absolutely.
Frank Dux sold his Kumite sword to save a bunch of orphans from the Philippines from being sold into servitude.
So he's a hero in the Kumite. He's a hero in all of our hearts as well, saving the children.
Yeah, he saved a bunch of kids.
What a guy.
I dug a little bit into this, and he made a comment that these kids would, like, basically, they are so grateful for what he did that they would murder for him. So maybe that's who he was going to give. Like, he was going to, like, hey, man, remember when I saved you from, like, getting, like, sold into, like, sex trafficking when you were a kid? I gave you, like, $500. You mind killing Steven Seagal for me?
I like how they were, like, saved from servitude, but then they were turned into fucking heinous murderers.
I don't think they actually turned into murderers, but I think he mentioned, like, they were so grateful and, like, they were so loyal to him that if he asked them to kill somebody, that they would.
Well, he's crazy, so I'm assuming he probably would ask them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he probably would have. I'm sure that was hey, listen, man, I got $250 and an Outback Steakhouse gift card. You know the guy
go get yourself something nice, like a bloomin' onion.
You know the guy that's in Hard to Kill? I need you to kill him. He's not that hard to kill. Frank Dux won the Medal of Honor for a secret mission in Southeast Asia. However, military reports show that Frank Dux never even left San Diego.
Well, I mean, he was pretty close to his mission spot. He was only halfway around the world.
Yeah. He apparently worked as a CIA operative.
Okay.
These last three, though, are, like, so fucking ludicrous. Do you remember back, it might have been, like, 10 years ago. You know how, like, the Chuck Norris, like, these mythical facts about Chuck Norris, like, you know, the boogeyman, like, checks his bed for Chuck Norris, shit like that?
Yeah, when Chuck Norris does push-ups, he pushes the earth down.
Yeah, stuff like that. And, you know, like, Chuck Norris was, or World War II ended, like, 12:13 a.m. on January 20th. Chuck Norris was born, like, 12:11, like, you know, like a minute before.
Right.
So these kind of have that vibe to them.
Okay.
Frank Dux was the first man to wear biker shorts in competition. He also once caught a striking snake with his bare hand.
Oh, wow. So we got a whole Jumanji vibe going on.
Mm-hmm. And then the final one holds a tug-of-war record where he stood on one leg against 66 people.
Well, if he looks like the trashier brother of Steven Seagal, I believe it.
Yeah, he probably did it at
he's
like
probably
some.
too fucking fat for anybody to pull him.
He probably did it at some family cookout. However, he beat his own record in Mexico shortly thereafter by standing on one leg against 100 people.
How do the Mexican people feel about this? Does he have a statue?
I don't know. Like, did they have their family reunion in Mexico? Like, was it in, Mexico City? Like, hey, we're going to go down to Mexico. We've got plenty of beer and baked beans and hamburgers. Come on down. We're going to get shit-faced drunk. And then, hey, you remember when Frank stood on one leg and kicked the shit out of us? We're just going to add more people to that. So they were like, they made a big deal out of this. They probably sent, like, flyers to, like, 9th and 10th cousins. Like, hey, let's kick the shit out of him in tug of war.
Family reunion. Woo! I have a question about one of the facts, though.
Okay.
This Medal of Honor that he won, does anybody know about this, or was the mission so secretive that they couldn't even give him the Medal of Honor, for everybody to know?
Well, when I was doing the research on it, like, apparently it's like his missions were so secretive that, like, they sealed his records.
Including his Medal of Honor awarding, which is done publicly by the president?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I also read something, too, that he was apparently a double agent. Like, he was a major in the Soviet Army, and he worked, was a member of the United States military. I don't know how that works.
I don't know, but, man, I tell you what, he's a true American hero. We appreciate his service.
Yeah, so if you ever get bored, anybody listening out there, you can just, there's all kinds of funny shit. I found these personally amusing myself. You may think, like, man, like, dude, these are fucking stupid. But, like, I thought they were hysterical. Like, I just imagined Steven Seagal's older brother, what did we say his name was? Like, Stan Seagal or something?
Well, I came up with Chet. You said Sam, I think.
Yeah, well, Chet Seagal. We'll just go with that. I like Chet. But yeah, like Chet Seagal, like, I just imagine Chet Seagal doing all this stuff. So, so who owns the movie? Who is, like, the one person that, like, makes this movie work? Like, who's, like, the best thing about this movie? I only have 2 nominees. I'll let you throw yours out there first, and I'll.
Well, either Frank Dux or Jackson for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, and Chung Lee. Those 3.
I kind of wanted to go with Bolo Young, Chung Lee. Like, he's actually, if I'm going to rank, like, my favorite movie villains of all time, Chung Lee is in the top 20 for sure.
Yeah.
Like, he is fucking cold-blooded. I like Chung Lee better than I do Frank Dux in this movie. And I remember when I was a kid, my grandpa, when he would watch it with me, he always rooted for Chung Lee to win, even though he had seen that movie hundreds of times and knew it wasn't going to happen. But he always rooted for Chung Lee to win. But that being said,
the bad guy never wins like he should.
No. And he, like, for real though, he commands, like, I think I read he's only in the movie for, like, a total of 7 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, he's not in it that long.
Wow.
I mean, if you think about it, he's only in, like, the brief like, opening montage where they show him training. He pops up very briefly when Frank does the dim mock. He's maybe in there 30 seconds to a minute when they show him fighting. Like, the biggest scene he has are when he fights Jackson and when he fights Frank at the end. So he's not in there that long. But, like, he's fucking.
He definitely commands when he's in there.
Yeah, he's pretty unforgettable. But I still think that Van Damme owns this movie. I mean, simply because, like, it's kind of like you get, like, a new action star. I mean, Van Damme had a pretty successful career in action movies. I mean, most of those guys, they kind of tail off towards the end. But I mean, like, when you think about like the greatest action stars of all time, like Van Damme is probably not. I wouldn't put him in the Stallone and Schwarzenegger tier, and he might be a little below like Mel Gibson and Bruce Willis and Keanu Reeves. I think Keanu Reeves trumps everybody, but that's a different story or a different topic for a different day.
Ooh, that should be a poll question that we put up on our social media.
Maybe we'll do that at some point. Maybe I'll put it up there tonight.
Ooh, you could even do like a tournament bracket style. You know how you were telling producer Adam and I about the video game best character of all time, and they had that tournament bracket.
Oh, for the greatest action like star of all time?
Yeah.
Maybe we will do that. Maybe we'll do that at some point. That actually sounds like a very good idea.
I have those every once in a while. They're rare, but they come up every once in a while.
The mind's a bit limber tonight. But yeah, like Van Damme is kind of like, you know, he's like in that third tier of like action stars. I mean, he basically mined a 20-year plus career out of this movie.
Well, I think you become like a star like that when people know who you are. So people can look at him and know who he is.
Oh yeah,
even if they've never seen his movies, they know who he is.
Oh yeah, I could, like my mom, who I think I've mentioned before. My mom has like maybe 7 or 8 movies she watches. I mean, she could spot Van Damme immediately when she sees him on TV. Like, oh, that's Van Damme. She'll probably call him the Karate Guy or something like that. But
yeah,
I think Van Damme owns this movie. I mean, he had that little.
It's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this up. Before we go, though, Lucas, do you want to fill everybody on what we're doing for the next episode?
The next episode is role models, correct?
Yeah, we're doing role models. We're gonna have a special guest on with us. He's been on the show before. That's kind of a hint.
Yeah, it's a returning guest from one of our better episodes I think we've ever done. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I guess if people like the episode, I mean, like, I don't know how much feedback we've gotten, but it's one of our most listened to episodes. But
I go by what Tina tells me, and she really liked it. She thought it was one of the better ones. So
well, good. She if Facebook has those top fans, like if we had badges for our listeners, like I would definitely give her the badge.
Yeah, I'm gonna get her like a little ribbon. It says Brotato #1 fan.
Yeah, we've got the Brotato tot. Now we've got the Brotato fan.
The mashed Brotato.
Oh, there we go. Something. But yeah, that's what we're doing next time. We're doing role models, and then after that, I've an episode I really looking forward to doing too. But we'll tell you guys about that after the role models episode. So, if you guys like what you hear, please leave us a review on iTunes. We really appreciate it. If you have any thoughts, questions, hit us up at Couch Brotato Podcast at gmail.com, or you can find us on social media on Facebook. We're on Instagram too. So hit us up. We want to hear what you guys have to say. We would love to be able just to shoot shit with you too. So hit us up. So until next time, we'll talk at you later.
Bye, everybody.